Hi, and welcome to another episode of the Perfectionism Project, a podcast full of perfectionism advice for entrepreneurs. My name is Sam Laura Brown. I help entrepreneurs release their perfectionism handbrake so they can get out of their own way and build a fulfilling and profitable business. I'm the founder of the Perfectionists Getting Shit Done group coaching program, which is otherwise known as PGSD. And for even more perfectionism advice to help you with your business, you can follow me on Instagram at Perfectionism Project. This episode, you want to listen to it in full. I have just finished recording it with Laura, who is one of our PGSDers, a lifer in her words. She has been in PGSD since 2020, and it's a lifetime access program. And we talk about it in the episode, but I invited her onto the podcast because she shared in the PGSD forum about how valuable lifetime access to the program has been for her, as well as the fact that I have been able to coach her and gotten to know her so well through it being a long-term coaching relationship. And she just wanted to share about the value of that. And so what I did is I wanted to create a conversation that would be so helpful for anyone who's thinking about signing up for PGSD, Perfectionists Getting Shit Done, as well as for our PGSDers. So this conversation with PGSDer Laura Miller is just going to be so helpful. And just we're really talking about how to use the PGSD community and PGSD in general to connect with yourself, your business, with your goals, with your personal development, with your courage, with your capacity, with who you want to be in the world, like how to use PGSD and how PGSD is a way for you to really be connected and also really become someone who feels safe enough to do big, brave things and to go for it and to have a safe place to land. We talk about so many different things that are just going to be incredibly helpful for you to hear, because having other people to do this work alongside, like the work that I talk about in the personal development series, having other people in a community, it's so valuable. And I personally believe it is more valuable than if you were to do that work alone with a coach. It's why PGSD is the way that it is. It's very specifically designed to support you to not be in shame. And a big part of that is to be able to witness others who are having the same struggles as you, who are having the same things going on. It just helps you not feel like there's something wrong with me and everyone else is doing better or different. It's just like, oh, this is normal. Like I'm having a normal experience. Oh, good. Thank God. Okay. So what do we do now? Like it's just so helpful to have certain experiences normalized, to have a safe place to share things. If you're a lurker and you don't want to share stuff, we talk about that too. And if you want to be anonymous inside PGSD, that is also an option and you can be fully supported. So we talk about all of that inside this episode that you're about to listen to. And I want to invite you into Perfectionists Getting Shit Done. At the time of release of this podcast episode, we are officially open for our PGSD enrollment. We only open a few times a year and it's a lifetime access program. So once you're in, there's no expiry. So there's no benefit to delaying the start. Like you can just get inside ASAP and really have the structure, the tools, the support for your perfectionist brain as an entrepreneur who is building a business and getting that business off the ground and getting to the place where you're able to make an income and then a full-time income from your business, if that's your goal, like a lot of our PGSDers. We are the place to be. We just really want to support you inside. I really want to invite you in. So you can go to samlaurabrown.com/PGSD to go and sign up today and get instant lifetime access to the program. Oh, I'm just so excited to be inviting you in, and the doors are open now. So go and join us. And I really hope you enjoy this conversation with Laura. It was incredibly valuable as we were recording. I was just like, this is just going to be the best to hear and really help you to understand what being fully supported to do courageous things looks like, because we don't just like push you to like be uncomfortable, like go outside your comfort zone or just feel the fear and do it anyway. Like there's so much courage required to really go for it in business, especially if you have life circumstances, like you have a job or you have kids or you have a job and kids or a health condition. Like we are also doing other things in our life besides business. And so it can be, if you think, and I talk about this towards the end of the episode, if you think like, okay, but I'm scared to sign up because I'm just going to go in and they're going to push me, we are not going to do that. What we do in PGSD is we teach and support you about how to support yourself to do courageous things or uncomfortable things that you are willing and have the desire to do. So it's always your choice. You are always in control, and we are just there supporting you, cheering you on, giving you the tools for your perfectionist brain that work for a perfectionist who is specifically doing the vulnerable act, the courageous act of building a business. It's all there for you inside the program, and we just really support you and hold you and help you feel safe to show up in the world and do big, brave things when you feel ready to do them, and to celebrate the wins, and to also be there to hold you through any failures and any setbacks. And those are going to be inevitable. Like if you're really going for it, there's going to be hard times. And that's one of the biggest reasons I want to invite you in, because entrepreneurship, like I talked about in the personal development series, like entrepreneurship is inherently hard. It's not hard because you're doing it wrong. It's just hard. There's so many skill sets, so much emotional capacity required. It like goes against our perfectionist brains who just want to be liked and do everything right. And like when you've done well in school, like it just brings up a lot of stuff, especially for perfectionists. And I just really want to be your coach and support you with that, and have you be in a community as well that supports you with that, and have you get your perfectionist mindset working for you instead of against you. So come join us. Doors are open now and will close at 11:59 p.m. Eastern time on Friday, the 6th of February. So you want to sign up ASAP so you don't miss this enrollment. So I hope you join us inside PGSD. I'd love to be your coach. I'd love to meet you inside the program and support you. And I hope you enjoy this interview with PGSDer Laura Miller. Hi, Laura. Welcome back to the podcast.
Thanks, Sam. I'm excited to be here again.
I'm so excited for this conversation. So I haven't told you what it is before we've started recording, but I want to begin with what you posted in the PGSD forum, because that's what sparked me inviting you back onto the podcast. And then what I want to do is really get your wisdom on, and this is what I've written down, how to use the PGSD community to stay connected to your business, your goals, your personal development, and your safety. So that's, take it.
Amazing.
And categories. I've just been brainstorming because I want this episode to be so helpful for anyone who is thinking about PGSD. This will be released during open enrollment. And I want it to be so helpful for our PGSDers as well, to really reflect and just like how this is a guide of exactly what I just said, like how to really use the PGSD community, and not like use it as in like, I don't know, in some kind of weird way, but like, I will like make the most of it. It's just like how to connect with the PGSD community, including we'll talk about like what to do if you're a lurker. Like you don't have to be posting to be connected, how to really have the community element of PGSD be something that really supports connection and like having belief that fuels you to your goals, or like having emotional safety and being in sufficiency and not being in that fight or flight and like thinking everything's life and death, which we can often do with business when it feels like it's all a test of how smart we are and how much people like us. So I wanted to start by reading out what you posted in the forum, which just like made my day to read. Because
Oh, good.
it's just over here chopped. It was like, oh, this is the best. And it was just so generous to share. So I'm going to read it out and then we'll just go from there. So this is like last week you posted in your persistence log, you tagged me and then you said, I was just thinking about how valuable this program has been for me, in large part because you're able to build long-term relationships with PGSDers in a way that a lot of coaches and even therapists and doctors don't or can't do. I know I feel super comfortable in this group to share very vulnerable things, which I think speaks volumes both to the community you've built and the rapport you've been able to build through offering long-term support to us PGSDers. I've checked out some other people's coaching ecosystems, and none of them have the same kind of depth, warmth, and safety as PGSD. I didn't want to start a whole thread about it, but I know you've been talking a lot lately on the podcast and in coaching about connection, so this felt very relevant to bring up. I'm sure you have your own plans for podcast topics, but I just wanted to mention it that I think the lifetime access to PGSD is a huge selling point that a lot of coaching containers don't offer. Just an idea for addressing pricing objections, if that's something you're even thinking about. Us lifers get insane ROI, return on investment, with you and PGSD. Thank you again for sharing that. This like words of affirmation is my love language. I just love hearing that the intention that we have with PGSD is being received. And I've loved having you in the community for so long. I went back in your persistence log and your first post was on the 23rd of February, 2020.
Yep.
So 6 years ago, I have been your PGSD. And as you mentioned in that post, PGSD is a lifetime access coaching program. So once you're in, you're in. That doesn't mean you have to hang out with us forever. And we'll talk about that too. I want to talk about using, like, having the PGSD community and PGSD be a place for connection, like for short term. So for like 3 to 6 months, as someone is learning how to really go from like taking inconsistent action and having a really hard time showing up and feeling safe to put themselves out there, to actually being in the place where they are taking action and following through. Like that's about 3 to 6 months for the PGSD transformation. But you have been actively posting. I didn't even see how many posts. And you
It's 15 pages.
Yeah, it's 15 pages. How many posts? But you have been 359 replies within your persistence log.
Most of those are probably me. At least over half of them are me,
yeah.
for sure.
And it's not to say that that's the only way to do it. And I really want to talk about, like, what if you're a lurker and you don't want to post at all and anything like that, as things like that. But this is why I think you're such a great person to talk about with this topic, that you have been in PGSD for a long time. I have been your coach for a long time. And I wrote an email about this a couple of weeks ago as well, but this quote that I came across, which is, shame dies when stories are told in safe spaces. And that's the reasons I started PGSD, because I was doing one-on-one coaching with perfectionists. And everyone just felt like there was always this shame of like, oh, I'm so grateful. I'm so glad to have help. But this is like really shameful. Versus in PGSD, when it's that format and it's designed to be a really safe space because of this, like it really helps remove so much shame just from seeing so many other people have the same struggles. It's like, oh, good, it's not just me who's the weird wrong one. Like, oh, we're all in this. Oh, well, what are we going to do? Instead of like, okay, well now, like it's just me and I can't be fixed, like all of that. So do you have anything to say about, I know it's a deep place to start, but about shame specifically, and yeah, and how the PGSD community has helped? And like when I say PGSD community, I mean like the fact that it's a group, like it is a community where you can connect not just to yourself and your business and to me as your coach, but you connect with other PGSDs and you're someone who's always like, you offer your thoughts and perspectives and everyone finds it so helpful as well. So like, what would you say about the shame side of things and how, because perfectionism, we're trying to avoid shame. So it's like, there's so much shame that perfectionist entrepreneurs inherently carry. And it's like one of the things you gotta be able to like process and like not be in the shame. Otherwise it's so hard to get anything done.
Yes, 100%. Actually, okay, this is really interesting, an interesting theme for my week because I was at work yesterday and we had a guest speaker give a presentation to our team who is the director of the Entrepreneurship Center at my university. So, since this is the public podcast, I guess I'll clarify that I'm in grad school currently to become a career counselor, and which has a like mental health counseling foundation, and which was not at all where I started in PGSD, not even remotely close. But so I work in the career center here at my university, and but that's separate from our entrepreneurship center. And so, obviously there's like considerable overlap in terms of like the type of services that we offer students, but whereas I work primarily with folks who are seeking more traditional employee type of situations, we also have this piece of the university that works with folks who are pursuing entrepreneurship. And so the director came and talked to us yesterday, which was really interesting because I'm the only person on my entire team, including my supervisors, that actually has entrepreneurial experience. And so it's always a little bit interesting for me to kind of understand my professional lane as a career counselor in the career center. But the guy who came to talk opened his presentation acknowledging how vulnerable it is to start a business. And this is a guy who's like straight, hetero, white man, like, just like very like business bro kind of guy. Like the kind of guy who, if you're drawn to PGSD, you'd probably be very intimidated by him because he's just like, he majored in business in undergrad, majored in big business in grad school, like, has just tons and tons and tons of awards. He's on the board of like fucking 20 different organizations, and it's just like very like intimidating, I think. And so I found it very, very interesting that he started his presentation talking about, yeah, it's a very, very vulnerable thing to start a business because you have to be willing to fail in front of people, like when you're building something from scratch that you don't know if you're going to be able to, like, if anybody's going to want what you're offering, like, that's so scary. Whereas like when you're a traditional employee, like the people who know when you fail are far fewer. That pool is much smaller. It's like your manager and like maybe your team. Unless it's like a very like public kind of, if you're high up in the company or if you have like broken a law in a very significant way. So like if you mess up as an employee or if you get fired or if you get restructured out of your organization, it's a very private, shameful experience. Whereas for those of us who are drawn to business, it is not. So yeah, I don't know. I feel like I've gotten a bit on a tangent, but is that a good starting point for this conversation?
Yeah. So we're talking about there is the shame, like the vulnerability and the potential for shame. And then with perfectionism, like the way we shame ourselves as well when everything isn't perfectly working seamlessly, which like that's not entrepreneurship that would ever happen for anyone. But in terms of that quote, shame dies when stories are told in safe spaces. You with the vulnerability that comes up with pursuing business goals in general, growing, changing, like what does it look like for you to have PGSD support you with, it's kind of like the two different things of like, you will still have shame come up, like that we're not trying to never be in shame and have that, but to actually be able to process shame and also being able to be in thought patterns that mean you don't have shame to begin with, because a lot of times we have shame from thought, like these perfectionist errors that we think like, oh, I should never make a mistake. And then that causes shame when we make a mistake, when like it's a thought error to think that we should never make a mistake in the first place. So that shame is avoidable because it's coming from a thought error. So we want to like change how we're thinking so we have less shame overall, but also in our relationships with ourselves, we stop shaming ourselves all the time. And also there will be times where like you post a video on YouTube and you like bared your soul and you were so excited about it, and then no one views it or someone comments on it like, what are you even doing? That was ridiculous. Or what, like, I know for me, I've talked about on the podcast before, the podcast, like this podcast is where I like bear it all. I'm like, here's my successes, here's my failures, here's all of like the inner workings of my brain, and here's what I'm going through, and like follow me along as I like succeed and fail and all the things in between. And then to go to the podcast reviews and see 1-star podcast reviews of people literally saying exactly like what my perfectionist brain, like what my inner critic is saying, to have someone else say that with a 1-star review, and like the wash of shame from that. It's like there's gonna be like when you're publishing stuff and putting yourself out there, there is gonna be shame. So how has PGSD helped you with that?
Yeah. Okay. Yes. This is absolutely a question that I can answer. So I think it really starts, Sam, with how specific you are about the client you talk to. Because, like, I think the fact that you are not trying to be everybody's business coach means that you attract a very specific type of person who is experiencing a very specific type of emotional phenomenon. And so then that means that everybody who's within PGSD, like, we come in knowing that we're all there because we're all having the same struggle, you know? And like, it's still scary, right? Whenever you join a new community, whenever you're meeting new people, especially like in this kind of context where it's this very emotionally vulnerable place to be, like that requires bravery. It requires courage to be willing to sign up, to be willing to invest in yourself and like believe in yourself that you will be able to see the transformation that you want to see so that you get that return on investment, not just like financially either, but in terms of like the energy, the work, the time, the emotional energy and emotional processing and the growth, right? Like there's so much more to it than just the financial investment when you're signing up for something like this. Like you're signing up for a journey, man. and and if you're like me, you're signing up for a 6-year long journey or more, really. I mean, it's going to be more. I'm going to be here till the bitter end. So, but I think, yeah, the fact that you are there to support people who are going through such a specific thing in a specific context, like the specificity of perfectionism and the way that you talk about it, and that it's like specifically for perfectionists in business, like I think that it creates this like energy, this what's the word I'm looking for? It creates this culture of emotional safety because we all know that we're all going through the same thing, right? And this kind of goes back to the comment or the post that I made in the in my progress log, persistence log. That kid, yes, that is showing my age in the program.
Yes.
I think, yeah, going back to what I was talking about in the persistence log, in terms of like how specific you are and how you're not trying to be everybody's coach, I think is like exactly what makes it a safe space for us to really go deep, right? Because like I mentioned in my comment that like I've sort of explored some other people's coaching ecosystems, you know, people that I watch their like YouTube videos or listen to their podcasts or whatever. And a lot of them are also coaches. And like, you know, every so often I'll sort of feel like, man, you know, like maybe I'm ready to kind of like branch out and add some new communities to my life. And so, I'll go and check out their coaching world. And consistently, I find that the interactions between the members in these coaching worlds, and to be fair, I'm only generally signing up for either the free tier or the lowest paid tier when I'm kind of flirting with a new coach, I guess. Because I want to check it out before I make that kind of commitment to see if they are going to be a fit, right? And yeah, consistently I find that the interactions between the members of these group programs, it's just not the same. It doesn't hit the same. The conversations aren't as deep. There isn't the same sort of level of deep, this shared experience that we all have in PGSD, even if we're all at different phases of the perfectionist growth cycle, I guess, or if we're experiencing different specific challenges within our business. At the end of the day, we're all, I think, experiencing very similar emotional challenges within the context of being entrepreneurs. And so just having that shared context, I don't know. I think it enables us to, have a culture of emotional safety with one another, that we can get really vulnerable. And I mean, as that quote said, shame dies when you tell the story of it, or I'm paraphrasing, but I think it's true. I think there's so much value in having this relationship, not just with you, Sam, but with each other, to be able to go into the forum and say guys, I am struggling with this. I need support. And knowing that we're not just going to have your support, which of course is very valuable, but to have multiple different people coming to our aid, or coming to celebrate the wins, because it's the same people who are okay, hey man, I get it. This struggle, I feel you. I'm right there with you. And then when you have a win, getting the pat on the back from those people means so much more. Whenever I hit a goal and I log it on the forum and people are what are you doing to celebrate? And I'm what do you mean? This is my celebration. Just telling people who understand how much this milestone means, that's it, right?
Yeah. I'm wondering, and it's okay if you don't, I'm wondering if there's anything that pops into your mind from the last 6 years that you also be comfortable sharing on the podcast, where you either felt ashamed about something. I guess it is a situation. If you felt ashamed about something, and then through being in the PGSD community or coaching or whatever format, whatever avenue you chose within PGSD to help, how, if you can think of a specific example or story of that for you that you'd be comfortable sharing. If not, that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we can do the big one, which is when I first joined PGSD, my goal, because this was back when the growth goal was called the impossible goal, and it was not yet a revenue goal. It was kind of any big goal. Yeah. And so the first impossible goal that I set for myself was to produce an evening length circus show. And the long story short, it took about 1.5 years, but I finally got to the point where I was doing it. I was producing it. I had it cast. I had my venue. I had music. I had rehearsals were starting, and the perfectionist handbrake just flew on. And there was a lot of stuff going on in my life at this particular moment in time. And so, it's hard for me to condense it for
Well, I think if
this
it's
episode.
but big life circumstances, even regardless of what they are, often that brings up uncertainty. And then
yes,
why they're oh,
yeah.
it brings on the perfectionism, at least in my experience. If there's uncertainty in my personal life, even positive uncertainty, then my perfectionism handbrake is more likely to come on as well.
Oh, 100%. And there was a ton of uncertainty in my life at this particular moment in time. But yeah, so it was like the fall of 2021. And yeah, basically like, I was all ready to start creating this show. We started rehearsals and I just was like, I can't do it. And so I canceled it. And I had invested thousands upon thousands of dollars. Everybody in my life knew about it. Everybody in PGSD knew about it. Like, everybody in my career world, but also my like personal life, like everybody knew it that I was working on this show. I'd been talking about it. I'd been working on it for years. um, and then like I got so close to doing it and I was just like I can't do it, and I canceled it. And you want to talk about shame, you know, because I had like 8 people in contract to like pay them, I had the venue secured. I had like all of these like big like people depending on me. And so like that was really I felt like shit, because it's like I wasn't just letting myself down. I was letting everyone in my world down. And yeah, I basically out of that, like within the next like 2 months, I like broke up with my partner. I moved back in with my parents 2 states away. I took 6 months, 8 months off of working entirely because I just was like so in the shame hole about what had happened. And like I think I took maybe a couple months off from PGSD around that time as well. And I came back and I was very vulnerable with my story, and like people rallied and they were there for me. Our PGSDers were like, man, like you did a brave thing though, and I really think that like having PGSD as like my safe space in that particular season of my life was like really, really critical at me being able to recover as effectively and being able to like learn from that failure too, right? Because like they say, oh, that like every failure is a lesson, and it's true, but try telling your perfectionist nervous system that. like but
There's something wrong with me. Yeah.
yeah. And so like, yeah, having people in my corner who understood the emotional stakes that were in play in all of this. Because as bad as it sounds on paper to like a non-perfectionist or a non-entrepreneur, like I feel like PGSDers are the only people in my life who like really truly got the magnitude of what happened.
Yeah.
Um,
Because I think you're
and
really going for it
yeah,
to get the magnitude of it. Because if you aren't really going for it and doing brave things, then it's like, yeah, that sucks. But like to actually know, oh, I know that pain of I got out of my own way enough to really go for it. And then it didn't happen, especially when it feels like, and it didn't happen because of me, like that kind, like it wasn't an external thing, even though there was obviously a lot of circumstances. Our perfectionist brain goes into like, oh, and it's because I wasn't good enough to do it, or like things like that. But if someone isn't up to big, brave things, and most people I talk to in the world want to be up to big, brave things, but don't have the emotional safety to do it. And that's a big part of PTSD is like we give you the belief and the emotional safety as well. So you have a soft place to land, because things aren't always going to work out. But like as your coach, it's just such a privilege to have witnessed your growth. Like I remember all of that time and you like in the forum being like, oh my God, guys, like this was a disaster. Like, and then like to see you then like be able to go for big, brave things again and again. Like you have multiple since then, even just top of mind, there's like 2 or 3 like big, brave things that you have gone all in with. And like that alone is the accomplishment, like getting to feel alive and to feel expressed and to feel like for me, I love achieving a goal, but what I love more is being a person who goes after a goal instead of being a person who dreams about a goal. I don't actually feel connected to myself when I'm just in the dreaming. I feel connected in the doing and in like that feeling of like having all the uncertainty of like I'm up to something really big and it could just go like completely sideways. But just like I feel alive in that. I feel connected in that, like being someone who does brave things and who, like, when I left my job in accounting, like having my manager be like, I wish I had the courage that you do. Like, I wish I had that. I don't have the courage to leave the corporate world and try something else. Like, it's like having the courage is the accomplishment. And
Yes.
I
Well
know
said.
learned from it and not just sometimes we can learn, oh, I'm learning that I should never try something big and brave again. So a lot of people will do one thing that's big and brave, often in like if you're in your 20s, and then go, okay, well, lesson, never do that again. Instead of lesson, get supported, like process the shame, pick myself back up and do it again and do like, and you've had all these different ways that you have done big, brave things, like going on YouTube and doing like there's so many different things that I know you learned the most helpful lesson from that. Not the lesson, oh, I should hide and not try, but the lesson of, oh, I can actually handle going all in and it not
Yes.
working out. Like I can handle
Yeah.
it and it's fucking hard. And I can handle the shame of like everyone. Because this is the thing where we like try so hard to avoid. As you said, like the feeling of letting people down and other people being disappointed or like laughing at you and being like, huh, Laura thought she could do this show and look, she totally crumbled. Like it's like the fear of like all the things we don't like saying to ourselves or hearing from ourselves. Everyone else will be like, haha, and agreeing with that. And it's like, you had that and it's such a gift that it didn't work out how you planned because
Absolutely. 1,000%.
you handle it and you
Yes.
get to learn how to get supported in the aftermath of going big and you were able to then go big again and like have like grad school, like you posted a lot in your persistence log about like that. I feel like now it probably feels like, was that even a big deal for me? But like that was something that was like, that is such a big accomplishment and how am I going to study and like all of this and like the applications and you did it. It's like all of these, like just from having that emotional safety and like witnessing yourself go for it and then survive it not going to plan is the ultimate safety of like, oh, I can handle the worst case, which you did.
Yes. Yep. Yep.
So I love witnessing that, seeing you then like be able to go for it again and again and have a lot of that then be really successful. Like you achieved your growth goal from last year. Like it's just like, yeah. And it's such a credit to you as well. Like just the courage, like that courage is the accomplishment. And I just can you go for it.
Yeah, I agree. I think I mean I've grown immeasurably since knowing you, Sam, but I think one of the biggest areas of my growth has been getting really crystal clear about my personal values and making the conscious decision that my number one most important personal value is courage. We talked about this, I think, on my last episode, actually, that like courage, I see it as my most important value because it's the value that unlocks everything else. Like I cannot live into my other highest values without having courage. So yeah, but I also want to say, like, kind of coming back to the group aspect of PGSD, I was reflecting on this in my 2025 review. I think that something that is really cool that wasn't even necessarily an intentional choice on my part. It was just sort of a byproduct of, I guess, the way I move in the world. But like, I am pretty much entirely surrounded by people who are going for it, as you said. Like, and a big piece of that is because of PGSD and, beyond the emotional safety that is cultivated by you being able to speak so clearly to such a specific set of challenges for your clients. But then us having the gift of being surrounded by each other, like, there's so much, like, obviously getting coached from you is super valuable. Being able to like listen to you talk about your experience and getting your perspective, super valuable. And I think for me, an even more valuable piece is being able to watch other people get coached and like being able to witness them going big, being able to be within a group where there's like, yeah, a culture not just of emotional safety, but a culture of courage where we're all like really going for it and we can support each other and be like, fuck yeah. And we all know that we're not going to be like, ooh, you shouldn't have done that. I told you shouldn't have done that. Whereas like, I mean, you talk about this a lot about having like, people in your life who mean well and who want the best for you, but they have a different vision of what they believe is best for you, which is often kind of a more limited view. I think like we don't have that in PGSD. In PGSD, it's like, yeah, go for it. I'm going to enable you to go for your dreams. I'm going to tell you to do it. But it's like, it's not this like gross hustle culture, bro-y, like, and I think that it's a fine line, right? Between like having a container that feels like supportive of people going for gold, going for the goals, going for a big life, a big career, but without shaming each other when things go wrong, right? Like I feel like so much content, so many other coaches, so many other just like voices and sources out there that otherwise could provide that sort of like, motivation. Yeah, go get it. Like, don't create that emotional safety of like, okay, but what happens when I inevitably fail? Because that is going to happen
Yeah.
eventually,
Yes.
um,
Like you need somewhere to be able to go to lick your wounds and to like
yeah,
not have to do that in private by yourself. And you can, but like it's having some, like, as I said before, like a safe place to land, to know that you can be like, I really went for it and then I choked, or like, or I didn't, but something else happened, or like, and we celebrate the wins and all of that. And that is often a even more vulnerable thing to do, is to like be in success and be sharing it as a perfectionist. But to have the safety of it's not just like, oh, I get supported and cheered on when I'm succeeding and when I'm winning, but then when I'm not, I have to hide that. And then I come back to coaching, I'm succeeding again. I come back to the community to like be like, yeah, I'm going well. But it's like having somewhere that you can share the like, not just like kind of the surface level version, but like, I feel really ashamed about this. And like, and just sharing it alone, even before anyone else has responded, is so freeing, to just share it somewhere that you know people aren't going to be like, well, just try this, or here's some advice, or don't be sad, or like any of that dismissive stuff. It's
right.
just, oh, I get,
Yes.
I got you, and like, we're here for you. And I love, it just reminded me of this quote from Maria Sharapova, the tennis player. Is one of my favorite quotes, I think, ever of all time, that she said on a podcast. She was like, the coach she chose, her tennis coach, she was like, I want to win with a coach who can lose with me. Like, I want success with a coach who can stand by me when I'm also failing. And I
Hell
was
yeah.
even get goosebumps just saying it now. It's just like,
Chills. Yeah.
I just want to, like, what is the point of support if you only get it? And this is like perfectionism, right? We're like, I'm only going to be supported and loved when I'm being good, when I look perfect, when I do things perfectly. And it's very stressful and does not feel emotionally safe to feel like only if I'm being good and performing will I be okay. But to be able to win with a coach who will also stand by you and support you long term during periods of failure, which is inevitable in entrepreneurship as it is in tennis or any sport. Like, you're not going to win every match. It's like being able to have someone that can support you when you're winning and when you're losing. Instead of this idea, I think it's often, I don't even think it's necessarily anyone's fault. It's just like the way that marketing has gone is kind of like this idea underpinning it of like you should be succeeding all the time. And if you're not, it's because you're doing something wrong. It's because you've got the wrong strategy or the wrong messaging or anything like that. And I just, in the personal development series, I was talking about like, no, it's just inherently there's going to be really hard times and there's going to be failure, even if you're getting everything, so to speak, right. Like it's just the uncertain game of business. And so do you have somewhere where when you are failing or when you're in the progress and process of building momentum and figuring things out, do you have somewhere that you can get that support and the belief fuel to like keep you going when you're like, I believe and I don't believe, and then this person in my life was like, oh, should you like, are you sure you should be doing that? And like all of that, to just have somewhere you can be like, and plug in the private podcast too, the coaching replays, and be like, oh yes, I'm held, I've got this, I'm gonna keep going, I want to build a business even if it's hard, like it's going to be hard. I love a challenge. I love rising to a challenge. I love personal development. Like that's how we roll in PGSD. We all love the personal development. So it's like having, yeah, I just think about that coach so much. Like I want to win with the coach. And for me too, like my coach, like I feel so supported because I know in my hardest times, I will get even more support and even more encouragement. It's like not just, okay, I'll cheer you on when you're winning, but if not, then like you're doing something wrong. Or I don't believe in you anymore. Just like that unwavering belief that it's just, it feels so nice to be helped. And I loved hearing it.
1,000%. Yes. Yes. Well, and also like having the opportunity to hold and support each other too, right? Like it's equally a gift to me as a member to not just know that I'm supported by my fellow PGSDers, but to have the opportunity to witness other people grow and like be in a group where that process is normalized. And like I feel a sense of reward as well when I get to be the cheerleader and I get to see like, hey, I remember when you were really struggling with that and now you're fucking doing it. Hell yeah. You know?
And I
Yeah.
100% believe that because you write these like amazing essays in PTSD and you're like, it's just like boosting other PGSDers up and just like putting belief under their wings of like I see you and you're going for it. And like, I just want to keep encouraging you. And I agree. It feels like such a gift to be able to also be supportive, especially if you don't have a lot of people in your day-to-day life who are going for it and who like you don't get to be like, oh my God, you're going for it and I believe in you and like you're doing this big thing. If you don't get to do that much in your life, like having PGSD where you can also be the most supportive and like expressed in that way version, I think like I love that personally as well. Like I love feeling supportive. I love feeling helpful. Like I love feeling purposeful and being able to hear someone on and be like, you've got this, or like, oh, I noticed you said this, and like 2 months ago you said that, and now you're acting like you're not succeeding. But like, did you notice? Like, you've actually completely changed. And they're like, oh my God, I have. So it's like, it's so fun.
Yeah.
Talk about, I have a few things
Okay.
I want to talk about. So I want to talk about a couple of features of PGSD. Then I want to talk about 3 types of people and then the time periods. So first of all, the persistence log, which we've mentioned, and there's also the let's celebrate section.
Mhm.
We in that too. But what would be your advice or wisdom on the persistence log and how to use that to stay connected to yourself, your business, your goals, your emotional safety, your personal development? Like, and there's how you do it and there's how other people do it. And I know you've like witnessed a lot of, I mean, you've been in there for 6 years actively posting. So like you've seen every different version. There's no like it has to look this certain way. Like there's so many different ways to do it. But do you have any wisdom or like do you want to share about like what the persistence log is, like the philosophy of that and how to use it?
Yeah, I mean, it's where you log your persistence. I think like I use it as like a catch-all kind of brain dump space. I also use the track your wins section, or celebrate your wins section of the forum pretty liberally as well. Um, but like, if it's a thing where it's like, it's not necessarily that I've like, had a big like measurable win, but it still feels like profound and I want to log it for myself and share it with the community. I tend to put that in my persistence log. So in the persistence log, I'll do, well, nowadays my power planning process looks primarily like I'll do it in my notes app on my computer. And then I copy paste into the persistence log because my notes app has like checklist functions and things like that. But so, every week I put proof of my power planning into my persistence log. But then like throughout the week, I will probably have some kind of like aha moment or some kind of breakthrough or just like something that is like eating up my brain space. Whether it's like something that's like a really positive kind of breakthrough aha moment, or if it's like a really unhelpful thought that feels like it's weighing me down. I think in both situations, that's where I go to my persistence log just to like get it out. And it's so helpful. Like, it's helpful in the sense that any journaling is helpful to be able to externalize those things. But then it's also helpful because I know that somebody else is going to look at it and tell me, hey, like, I mean, as you said, like, have you noticed this? Have you noticed that you're talking like this? Like, here's an alternative way to think about it. And yeah, so that's how I personally use the my persistence log. And then I also love reading about other people's wins, reading other people's persistence logs. Because again, I think like having the privilege of peeking into how other folks in the program are kind of thinking about their business, it often shines a light on my own blind spots. Because again, like, I mean, we all have this very common shared foundation, this very specific experience that we're all going through. And so when I see somebody kind of talking about something that they're going through in a way that I hadn't thought about it before, it's like, oh, duh, or yeah, it'll just be like, it'll be very obvious to me if somebody is in some kind of like, distorted thinking about some issue that they're facing, and then be like, oh, hey, like I've been there, I am there, like, and it's helpful for me to like self-reflect on, okay, they're thinking like that. Where am I maybe thinking like that as well? How can I apply my own advice, my own feedback to my situation,
Yeah. Yeah, I love your persistence log. You probably do the longest post of everyone, is my estimate. I read them all and I'm often like, oh, did you notice this? Did you notice this? Like, just pointing out little like perfectionist thought areas and also cheering you on and being like, a lot of the did you notice it is like, did you notice like there's this growth that happened in like from 6 months ago to now, and like you've just completely, you're obviously not seeing that, so like let me point it out to you. There's also in the forum, ask a coach, which I feel like you don't use that much.
Yeah, that's true. I don't really use it that much. I primarily put it all on my persistence log.
Yeah. And then we do it there. But there is ask a coach. So for written coaching, you can post there. And currently I'm the one replying to all of those. So you can get any coaching there and you can read everyone else's as well. Often people comment like, oh my God, that was so helpful for me to read that. So there's that. There's also an I'm just looking at it now, an ask the community section as well when you want to explicitly ask other PGSDers different questions of like, hey, how do you do this? Or like, have you had a time where this happened and things like that. So there's a way. I love being in a community where you can ask other people in the community. I've been in some where you can only ask for coaching, but I'm like, I wanna like talk to everyone else here as well. So we've got that. So I just want to move on to the next thing I want to talk about so we can stick to time. So I wanted to talk about 3 kinds of people that we have PGSDers who are all these different kinds of people. And at times I've found in different situations, I'm different ones of these. But for anyone who's listening, who's like, this sounds amazing, I shall not be posting ever in PGSD forum you're talking about. I shall never be getting coached on a call, and I shall never, ever post and ask a coach. So I've been in places where I'm like, I'm here to fully lurk, and you literally will not know I'm in this community. And it's kind of like I haven't yet got the emotional safety to like join myself in. So I just want to like, can I just be a fly on the wall? And I'm just going to watch. And I get so much benefit still from that, because if it's a group situation like this where it's so specific that, and so many PGSDs, like we have testimonials for people, I'm like, I don't actually know you because I've never coached you. You have never posted, but they're like, here are the amazing results I got because they just listened to the private podcast replays and they read, sometimes they didn't even go in the forum, but they often read other people's coaching and persistence logs, and like they still got to feel like part of the community without having to share. So there's the 3 types, is like the kind of like share it all, which I'd say you're in that category.
Yeah.
Like I'm gonna like share a win, and you feel like probably from the beginning you've been like that, but like I want to share my persistence log, and like I want to share. And then there's the next kind of person is more of an occasional sharer. Occasional in the sense that it's like there's an occasion that then they will share about. So either like an occasion of like a failure, or an occasion of there's something to celebrate, or like an occasion of something very specific. For some PGSs, that will be they share their weekly review, and like that's the one occasion each week where they will post in their persistence log and share their weekly review, and sometimes a screenshot of their power planning, sometimes not, but they'll share their answers to the weekly review prompts. So there's that, and then there's the lurker who is like, no one's ever even gonna know that I was in this community, but I am here. So for each of those kinds of people, I mean, probably the shareable person has gotten the advice they need because we talked about that. But for the occasional sharer, or like the kind of person who is a lurker, do you have any thoughts on how they can use the PGSD community to connect with their business and their goals and other people as well? Because you can connect with someone even if you don't talk to them. Like you can feel very connected, for example, to me as your coach, without me having to personally coach you. So do you have anything to say for the occasional person who's sharing, or the lurker in PGSD?
Yeah. I will say for any level, really, share at the level that you feel safe, right? Like going back to the culture of safety that we have, if what you need to feel safe in this community is to just lurk and to just listen to the playback, or to maybe come to the calls but not get coached, not contribute, just like, be there to watch. Like if that's what you need to do to participate and get what you came here for, then do that. Like nobody here is going to pressure you to do more than what you're comfortable with. We might encourage you. We might gently challenge you to take one small step outside of your comfort zone. But like, if you are like, oh my gosh, it's already scary enough for me to make this investment and to join this community at all, you don't need to be like me or you're posting multiple times a week and coming to as many coaching calls as possible and like, just being very participatory. That's me as a person. I am that way in every area of my life. So it's not just PGSD. But that's how I personally get the most out of things, right? Is by like actively contributing, actively engaging. And I recognize that different people are different, and that's totally okay. And at the same time, like holding multiple things as true at once, I think if you hit a place where you're like, okay, I feel like I am no longer growing in this space, or I'm not seeing results that I want, or, whatever it is, if you find yourself in a space where you just kind of feel stuck or dissatisfied, I would gently encourage you to, again, not going full throttle, but take one tiny next step outside of your comfort zone. So if you've been a lurker, you're not on the calls, you're just listening to the replays, you're just doing the courses, like you're, maybe posting in the forum once a month, maybe consider coming to a call just to watch. And you can even like let Sam know before coaching, hey, I'm just coming to watch so that you don't get called on. So I think, or, you could challenge yourself to post instead of just your persistence log in the forum, you could challenge yourself to just like celebrate someone else's win. Taking like a little tiny baby step a little bit further into the community, I think will help you get more comfortable and potentially get more out of your experience.
Also, I want to say this, just as you're saying that, it reminded me. So the way it works in the forum is that you can have a profile photo and your name if you would like. You can have it like for people who don't have a profile photo, it's just their letter of their first name, but you don't have to have it be your name. You could have it be like one of the PGSDers has their initials as like, so you can't actually, like you couldn't actually identify them out in the wild. That's completely okay as well for anyone who's like, I really want to be involved, but like, can you not know it's me? Yes, 100%. Like, and you can always email us when you sign up and say like, hey, or when you sign up, you pick your username, but you could be like, hey, can I have my username be this? And like, I don't want to have a profile photo. 100%, because we want to have you like meet you where you are with safe you feel, or even not just safety, but like how much does like you desire to show up and be active and in the community and also like be visible. Like you can be active without having to be visible as yourself. So I just wanted to mention that in case anyone's listening, they're like, I'd love to be active, but can we not know that it's me? That's totally fine. And then if you change your mind, you can change your mind on that in the future and we'll update it for you as well. But it really is just all centered around having a safe space to do the work alongside others who are doing the same work and who are using the same philosophies and the same tools, the growth goal, power planning, clean rest, safe visibility, like all of this stuff that I talked about in the personal development series. And we're talking about like, it's all centered around those core philosophies as well, which is really important instead of like, oh, have you tried this goal setting method? Or like, have you tried this productivity thing? Or have you like, it's like, oh no, it's all, everyone will support you around having what we teach you in PGSD work for you. And like, it's so helpful to be brought back to a core philosophy instead of when you're having a hard time for someone to say, okay, have you tried this different thing? Have you tried this different thing? Like that's so overwhelming when if something's not working, someone says, okay, we'll try something completely different instead of like, okay, let's stick with the same philosophy, but let's just tweak it so that it meets you where you are so that it can work for you. And have a really good go at it before we say, okay, this isn't going to work at all. Like it's really, I found for me as well when I'm in a coaching group that like everyone supports you to apply what you learn in that group rather than like telling you go and learn these other things from other people. It's not that there aren't other helpful things to learn, but then it just becomes confusing when you then have to like piece together, okay, Sam says this, but this other person says that. And now I'm having to like reconcile the two. And then oftentimes that makes us disconnect from being in the group because like, well, now I'm doing this thing that no one else is talking about, so I can't share in here that I'm. So like everyone as well will support you to do the things that we teach and like the philosophy in PGSD, which is all designed to get your perfectionist brain on your side. There's so many different like tweaks that people have made to power planning and like to different things like that it's not like it has to look this certain rigid way. But we do return to the same philosophies and bring you back to really like what you signed up for, which is to learn how to take action in a way that's in alignment with your values and like the life you want to have as a perfectionist who finds it really scary to build a business and like wants to be courageous. And I want to say too, like what you're saying about the culture of courage, everyone doesn't come in with the courage. You get the courage inside. So it's like, if anyone listening to that is like, great, well, I can't go and hang out with all these courageous people, like not me, I'm so scared. It's like, no, everyone comes in scared to go for it in their business. And then by being in PGSD and doing the personal development work that we teach and using the tools, you get the courage after you join. So just if anyone's like, I need the courage first, or I'm not courageous enough yet because you're not in PGSD. Like the PGSD comes first, and then it's so much easier as well to be courageous when you have that safe place to land. It makes being courageous feel a lot more doable, and have tools that support your perfectionist brain and all of that. So definitely for no one, do not tell yourself you should be courageous before you sign up.
Yes.
You don't
Yeah,
have.
well, like I have a couple of things to add to that too. I will say, like, for again, adding like nobody, no newcomer, certainly, but even us like lifers, nobody is bullying each other to like do things before you're ready to do them. Like, yeah, if you're feeling not super courageous right now, that's okay because we all came in that way. And I will add as well that like if you're coming in um feeling very uncourageous and like, because that's what we're here to build ultimately, like
Yeah.
try not to compare yourself to people like me who have been doing this process for over half a decade now. Like I find myself not having that conversation so much in PGSD, but like in other things that I do. Like I've been doing aerial acrobatics for 11 years now, and like I often take classes that are well below my skill level because that's what works with my schedule. And I will have to talk to the people in that class and they'll be like, I've been doing this for almost a year. And I'm like, please do not compare yourself to me. Like, don't think that you should be more like further than where you are right now. Like, you're at the perfect spot where you are right now. I am the one in the wrong place in that like aerial class context. But yeah, don't feel like you have to already be where I'm at if you haven't already been in this program for as long as I have. And even if you have, like, we're all growing at different rates and have different things going on. And
Yeah. And I think we've talked about too in the forum. I feel like maybe it was last year we were like having a discussion about it, that it's like, because you mentioned about pushing yourself, like it's not about, like, we're not pushing you and we're not teaching you how to push yourself. Will you be uncomfortable? Yes, at times, but from a place of self-support and like having the willingness and desire to do the uncomfortable thing. It's not just like, okay, you're super scared, just like feel the fear and do it anyway and just like go and do whatever. It's not that, because like courage and being courageous will look so different for everyone because it's all about your emotional experience, and we all have different stories and different perfectionist thoughts that create different feelings and like experiences with doing certain things. So what's a really courageous thing for someone might not require courage for someone else. What we do in PTSD is support you to support yourself to do uncomfortable things that you're willing and have the desire to do. And so it's not, it's because I don't want anyone listening like, oh, I'm going to like sign up and then they'll like push me, like just go and post and just go and do an Instagram live, or like, just like, it's not that.
no,
We'll
yeah, it's
we
not
will
that.
support you to support yourself to do the courageous or uncomfortable things you have the willingness and the desire to do. And if you don't have the willingness, but say you have the desire, like we will help you build up the willingness and like the emotional capacity to do it, and like, and the self-support to do it, so you don't feel like as soon as you're done you're just gonna like beat yourself up because it wasn't absolutely perfect. Like it's so hard to be courageous when you're fearing your future self judging you and saying, well, that wasn't good enough, why did you even bother? Like, so there's so many things to shift to help you be courageous, so we don't have you come in and just like we push you to just do whatever. It is really, yeah, supporting you to support yourself to do uncomfortable things you have the desire and willingness to do. The final thing I want to talk about before we wrap up is the time period thing. So you posted about being a lifer, the lifetime access. I mean, everyone is a lifer in PGSD in the sense of everyone has lifetime access, whether you pay in full or payment plan, you will have lifetime access to PGSD. But there are some people who, like yourself, are like, this is where I want to be. This is so supportive for me. I want to be here for as long as I possibly can. Like, I'm going to be here and actively posting. And then there are also other PGSDers who come in and will be really active in the community or actively lurking for about, I'd say 3 to 6 months, sometimes 12 months. And then they will go and do something else as well. Like, it's not like once you're in, like, you have to like keep hanging out with us forever. Like, you can come in and get what you came for, which is to go from hiding and not being able to be visible and being in your own way and all of that to showing up and sharing and being you, and like, and then you can go elsewhere. You still have access. You can still come back. And we have a lot of PGSDers as well who will be active for like a year and they'll go away and they'll be like, hello, me again. I'm back into it. And like, we'll like be like, here I am. I'm like, welcome back. And like, let's go. So do you have any advice or wisdom on this? Like, someone who wants to do a shorter term approach? I mean, obviously everyone probably goes in with that because you're like, I don't know if I'll like it there enough to want to be there forever, but we're not saying you have to be in there actively forever. But do you have any thoughts or anything to share on that?
Honestly, probably similar advice of just like, trust yourself to know what you need. But at the same time, like, be open to potentially changing your mind. We are happy to support you however you want to do PGSD. And my selfish side wants you to like at least share your social media so that we can keep in touch like outside of the PGSD world. Especially if you're like kind of a power user like me for 6 months and then you say, okay, it's time for me to go. Like, let me at least be friends with you on Instagram. but um, but I think the I think of like how I've approached therapy throughout my life, that like I've been like in and out of therapy. There's been, I think like the last few years I've felt like the most supportive thing for me is like to know that I have that as another like safe place to land. However, like there comes a point where it's like it feels very optional. And it's like I'm really just going because like it's my routine. It feels like routine maintenance. It feels like it's in my budget so I can do it. But like my current therapist actually just recently told me that she is moving on to a new job. So, and I opted not to pursue referrals because I'm like, I'm okay. I'll be okay without a therapist for a while. And when things happen in life and I need that kind of support again, I know how to get it. I know where to find it. I know who to call. And I think I would, say the same about PGSD, that it's just like, if it's the most supportive thing for you, like it is for me, to just kind of use it as my touch point, my place of accountability, on a weekly basis. It's also just like sort of if I have a little bit of downtime and I'm bored, like I just go into the forum because to me that feels better than like scrolling aimlessly on social media. But if you are like, I am too busy for that shit, like I'm here to get what I want and go, like do that. There's really no right or wrong way to engage.
Amazing. Okay, this has been so good. Is there anything else you want to say before we wrap up? You have been so generous in everything that you share, but any final words, or if anyone's like, I want to be in there, what would you say? I mean, you've probably already said it in this episode, but
yeah. If you want to be in, then come be in. We would love to have you, truly. Consider this our open, warm invitation. We love to meet new people and expand our little community, even if you're not as active as I am. But if you are, I would love to be your perfectionist friend. I love how many amazing friendships and connections I've made through this community over the years. Like truly just so lovely to have friends all over the world.
amazing. And is there anywhere people can go to connect with you besides inside PGSD? If you join PGSD, when you join, you will easily find Laura's persistence log and be able to. But do you have anywhere, if anyone like had questions or anything for you about PGSD, do you have anywhere people could ask you that's not inside PGSD?
No, not right now, actually, because, I'm just like, I'm not really checking Instagram a whole lot these days. I'll give my Instagram, but know that I may not respond in a timely manner. My Instagram is at moves like Laura. It is private, so you'll have to send me a request. But if you send me a message that says, "Hey, I'm thinking about PGSD," like I'll answer it if I see it.
Basically, if you want to be friends with Laura, join PGSD. That's the way to.
Yes.
I love. Okay, well, we will wrap up. Thank you so much, Laura. I appreciate you.
Likewise, Sam. Thank you for everything you do.
If you enjoyed this episode and you want me to be your coach and you want to be doing this work on a deep level with like-minded perfectionist entrepreneurs, then I want to invite you to join us inside Perfectionists Getting Shit Done, aka PGSD. It's my coaching program for perfectionist entrepreneurs, and we do this personal development work that I have been talking about in this series. You get the tools, the structure, the support that gets your perfectionist brain working for you instead of against you. It is a lifetime access program. It is absolutely incredible, so supportive, just everything you could want as a perfectionist entrepreneur. So I want to invite you to join us inside. The doors are opening on the 30th of January at 6 a.m. Eastern Time and close at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time on Friday, the 6th of February. So to find out more today and join us inside the program, go to samlaurabrown.com/PGSD.